By day, the village of Madhupur looks like a peaceful, idyllic postcard. But the moment the sun sets, every door is bolted shut. The locals are terrified of the village outskirts, specifically a patch of crumbling concrete gripped by the roots of an ancient peepal tree. No one dares walk past it in the dark. According to the elders, the tree is the hunting ground of a churel, a malevolent female spirit known across South Asian folklore. You can always recognize her by her feet, which are twisted to face backward. Arjun doesn't buy a word of it. As a modern, educated skeptic, he openly dismisses the elders' warnings. To him, the churel is just an archaic boogeyman invented to scare children into staying home at night. But what if monsters aren't born from the supernatural? What if they are fabricated to hide a community's darkest secrets? To prove the superstition is baseless, Arjun decides to walk straight to the peepal tree at midnight on a moonless night. He steps away from the safety of the houses, carrying only a single lantern. A heavy fog swallows the path ahead, cutting off all sound from the village. Halfway there, the lantern flickers and dies. Arjun stands frozen in the pitch black. Then the silence breaks with a metallic sound. Chung, chung, chung. The ringing of heavy anklets stepping closer. He looks up. A silhouette hangs upside down from the thick branches of the peepal tree. Her hair falls into the mist, and her feet are twisted completely backward. Logic shatters in an instant. Arjun is trapped. But the reality waiting for him in the mist is much darker than a simple ghost story. The creature in the branches doesn't lunge. She doesn't attack. Instead, a very human face emerges from the shadows, crying tears of deep sorrow. She looks at Arjun and whispers, "Can you see me?" She isn't a demon at all. This is Gauri, a woman who used to walk the streets of Madhupur in broad daylight. Decades ago, a sudden, unexplained illness swept through the village. Crops withered, livestock died, and panic consumed the community. They needed someone to blame. When terrified communities face arbitrary tragedy, they sometimes turn to Dayan Pratha, the practice of witch hunting. They scapegoat vulnerable, marginalized women to explain their misfortune. A witch hunt operates in 3 stages. First, an accusation. Second, a sorcerer declares the woman a practitioner of black magic. Finally, persecution. This violence is current. Between 2001 and 2016, over 500 women were murdered under these accusations in Jharkhand alone. By labeling Gauri a monster, the village turned a shared tragedy into a targeted execution. A community that manufactures a villain to escape its own fear creates a terror far more persistent than any spirit. Back in Madhupur, Gauri was the target. Once the sorcerer pointed his finger, her fate was sealed. The village dragged her from her home. They tied her to the trunk of the peepal tree and left her to die. As she suffered, she begged for help, but the neighbors she had known her entire life simply ignored her cries. Gauri didn't die asking for violent revenge. Her final wish was just for her humanity to be acknowledged and the truth of her innocence to be known. To avoid the crushing guilt of murdering an innocent woman, the village created the churel myth. By turning Gauri into a terrifying boogeyman with backward feet, they successfully buried their own crime under a ghost story. Arjun returns to a village determined to forget. When he speaks Gauri's name, the room goes cold. It takes days of confrontation before the first witness finally admits to what they saw under that tree. Eventually, the oldest man in the village breaks the silence, describing the night they let a woman die to satisfy their own terror. To atone, the community gathers at the peepal tree, to light lamps and formally confess to their crime. The branches go quiet. Peace finally seems to settle over Madhupur. But a single apology in one village does nothing for the women currently facing the violence of Dayan Pratha across India. Fighting that reality takes true, real-world resistance. Activists and survivors, like Padma Shri awardee Chutney Mahato, now dedicate their lives to rescuing other women from being branded and murdered by mobs. A ritual of forgiveness is only the beginning. Ending this violence requires a shift in how these communities handle fear, moving away from the survivalist instinct to scapegoat the most vulnerable among them. Several months pass in Madhupur. A new family moves into the village, completely unaware of the blood soaking the soil of their new home. One morning, the parents wake up to find their front door wide open. Panic sets in until they find their 10-year-old son standing entirely alone beneath the massive peepal tree. The boy doesn't look at his parents. He just stares blankly up into the empty branches and whispers, "She was saying she is scared of being alone now." You cannot magically erase centuries of violence with a simple apology. Until the beliefs that built the monsters are destroyed, the ghosts of our societal trauma will endlessly wait in the dark, asking, "Can you see me?"
Subscribe to my channel for more updates and more like this video.